Now let's find the takeoff distance required for this aircraft at these given conditions. This is a simulated graph that I made for you. It looks a lot like the FAA written one. All you're going to need is a pencil, and you're going to need a straight edge, to follow along here, and a lot of patience. All right, let's start those conditions. 0 degrees Fahrenheit. I've got the centigrade scale up here, but I got the Fahrenheit scale here. Well, you're given Fahrenheit, use Fahrenheit. Start there and work your way up. And you're going to take your straight edge and you're going to trace up there. Just follow along from the 0 upwards until you hit that 4,000 foot pressure altitude mark. That's that black line right there, first, second, third one. Find that intersection. Then, you're going to take your straight edge. So now you just kind of use it and go across like that. And when you do that, so you're just moving across until you hit this reference line. So come on across until you hit that reference line. You're right there. Do you see it? Okay. Now, it says next that I'm going to be at 2,820 for our takeoff weight. That's going to be here. And now I'm going to try to put my ruler. I'm trying to simulate that blue slope as best as I can. And once I do that, I can't grab this thing. I'm going to try to follow that line until I hit this magenta reference that I put in there, 2820. So let's go with that. See that? Just like that. I'm going along there. So I've come down a little bit. I would have kept going, and all I'm doing is trying to estimate, kind of parallel between those two blue ones. And now, what do you know? I'm back to going horizontal again. And once I've gotten here, that's my adjustment for weight. I need to read across. Read across just to come to my next reference line. So let's do that. Gosh, to be honest, I lost track where I am. Okay, we did that. Now let's go across. Okay. And that takes me to the next reference line, which is setting me up for figuring out headwind or tailwind. Now, that's why those gray ones go in the other direction. See, that's going to be tailwind, because, of course, that's going to add to our distance. And notice with that higher, look up here. Wow, if you're going faster, yikes. That would be a lot of, that could add a lot. But I'm down here, right here. And now I'm going to follow down because I've got a headwind. How much is my headwind? It said 18 knots. So 18 knots. That's the reference I have to hit. Now I'm right on this green line, so all I got to do is go down that green line. And it's going to look a lot like that. See that? Just following down that green line. And again, I see a reduction in takeoff distance because, of course, got a headwind. Then I've got to go horizontal again. Follow that. And what am I going to? Of course, to my next reference line. You're always going to your next reference line. Now, at this point, if we didn't have a 50-foot tree in front of us, we would be done. We would just read it right over here, and I don't know, it looks like it'd be about 700 feet right there. We would be done. But we're not done because we have to clear a 50-foot obstacle. Duh, always have a 50-foot obstacle. So we're going to set up our ruler parallel to those two green ones as best as we can. And then we're going to move up like that. Oh yeah, right there. And then we can just read straight from there. 1,300 feet, 1,300 feet. You see, it's pretty approximate. And if you get it to the nearest 100 feet, I'm going to be happy. So have a good look at this example, and we'll do another one or two, and then maybe some landing. Well, here we go with takeoff distance again, and we're starting here on the centigrade scale. We're given 4 degrees centigrade right there, and from there we're going to travel upwards. Now we don't have a 3,000 foot line there in black. We've got 2 and 4,000. split the difference. And go to the middle there, that's going to represent 3,000. And then I can read across from there to my next reference line. Okay, now this is my 2,340, my 2,340 weight, and I'm going to line up my straight edge, follow that blue curve down, and I'm assuming it's linear a bit, or at least I'm tracing it linear to be a close enough approximation, and I'm going to slide down that blue slope like that until I intersect the magenta line. And as always, across, just across to our next reference. And we're almost done this time. We have 15 knots, so that's going to be right in the middle there between the 10 and the 20. And we're saying headwind, so that's going to follow the green. That's going to decrease our distance. So we're going to slide down like that. Now this time, we have no obstacle, so we're out in the middle of a cow pasture, and that means I can just read all the way across. Just go straight across. I don't have to do anything with this. And I can read my solution right away. Yeah, looks like about 510. Well, let's find a landing distance using this chart and these parameters. Now I'm going to warn you, the hardest thing on this FAA test, make sure you got the right chart. The landing distance looks a lot like the takeoff. Trust me, it is different. Scales are different, the numbers are different. Check it out. So we're going to start this one, -10 centigrade. Well, if we're starting on centigrade, let's use the centigrade scale. And we're going to go all the way up to 8,000 feet pressure altitudes, right there. You all see that? So follow up there, make a mark with your ruler if you like, your straight edge, and then you move across, just move across horizontally to the next reference line. Just like we did before, just like you did for takeoff. So now you're moving across there. Now you're going to travel down parallel to those blue lines until you hit the 2,600 foot mark. 2,600 pound mark. So let's travel down that slope. It's going to look a lot like that. So line up your straight edge and trace down until you hit that 2,600 pound mark. And of course, horizontally over to your next reference line. Oh, you're getting the hang of this. Let's see, where are we? There we are. Okay, now the green is going to be headwind. The orange is tailwind. Which way are we going? We've got a headwind. Headwind is going to significantly shorten this distance. Look what the tailwind does. We'll do a problem like that later. So let's mark our 20. That's our target to hit. So we're going to slide down that slope parallel to the greens as best as we can until we hit this reference line. Well, this 20 knot of headwind component line, that is. And then we're going to read across to our next reference line. We like to do that. Let's go horizontal, horizontal. So there we are. And again, if there was no obstacle to clear, we would be done. We would be at 800 feet and we'd be finished. We would just go straight across to here. But this is not the case. We have that dreaded 50-foot obstacle. No, it's always a 50-foot obstacle. So there you go. We're going to read up there as best as we can, lining it up parallel to those green lines. And that's going to give us a solid 1,400 feet for a landing distance. Big difference over 800, isn't it? Let's do the landing distance again. And I've got these specifications here. A little interesting. Standard temperature, a tailwind. All right. Well, and look at this graph. You know, pilots need good eyes just to read this. Well, where do we start? ISA, International Standard Atmosphere. That little orange line there. Well, where does that intersect with my 2,000 foot pressure altitude? Be right there. That's where I start. So you don't need the Fahrenheit or the centigrade scale. You're starting at standard atmosphere, right there. Ah, well, you got a little break today. And from there, we're going to read across to our first reference line. So let's go across. That's so much fun, we'll do it again. We get to there and we say, okay, we've got our weight 2720. And that's the weight 2720 right there. You maybe mark that with your straight edge. And you're going to follow down between those two blue lines as best as you can. Like that, till you hit your 2720. Okay, you know by now, you know the drill. Across to the next reference line. So it's horizontal until you hit that reference line over here. This is where it gets interesting. Now, we're used to following these green slopes, which dramatically reduce our takeoff distance. I mean, look at this one, takes it down to 0. That can't be. But we're going to follow the orange to the other direction. We're going the other way. This is dramatic. Watch this. With, well, 10, first off, 10 knots. That's a lot of downwind. If you're landing downwind, you might be thinking about, well, getting a new job, because you may not have one for long. Because look at how much you are increasing that landing distance. Now, you may have a good reason for landing downwind. You know, you could be on a 4,000 foot strip with a Cessna 172 and you just don't want to taxi across the gravel. I don't know, but look at that dramatic increase right there. That's the most of it. And you know by now we're going to read across to our next reference line. So you can see this is going to dramatically increase our distance. Now, just to be different, now we have a 15-foot obstacle. I don't know, 15 feet, but I'm going to say that's roughly 1/3 of 50. 15 times 3 is 45, so I would plot it about there. So go parallel to the greens up to intersect that line, and there you go, up like that. You see it? Right there. Right there. Oh yeah. Now you're done. So now you're going to read across from that point. You see, if it was a 50-foot obstacle, you'd be well over 2,000 feet, well on your way to 2,500. But here you get a little break. 1850. 1850. Yikes! That's still, I mean, that's a lot. That's a lot of runway.